When it comes to meditation, a lot of us have a myriad of reasons as to why we can't meditate, why we can't sit down for 10 minutes. I don't have time. I can't meditate. My mind is always moving. It's too deep, We have all these reasons that cause us to be reluctant to want to sit down and just spend a moment, spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes just sitting. And I think a lot of the sort of motive behind our reluctance to meditate is that we think it's going to be boring. It's not that it's too deep. It's not that you don't have time. Trust me, the excuse that you don't have time to meditate is the same as somebody who's like addicted to something saying, I could stop, I just don't want to. It's the same excuse. You have time to meditate, but the idea is that you don't want to meditate. And I think a lot of the reason behind that is that we think it's going to be boring. We think it's not productive. We think it's not productive to sit down. And I mean, you can't blame us in feeling that it's going to be boring to meditate, because look at how stimulation driven this culture that we live in is these days. I mean, even this video, for example, your mind may be drifting from thing to thing, or thinking about clicking off and not wanting to watch this video, or wanting to find something else. And, I can speak from personal experience as well that, I'll put on a video and I'm only captivated by it for a couple minutes, and then it's like, I could find something better. And then I get in this perpetual cycle of trying to find something better for the next hour. And that results in me scrolling through shorts, or, scrolling endlessly through YouTube looking for that something better, and we're so stimulus driven in this time that we live in, and our attention span is so quick to move from thing to thing to thing to thing that we may feel it even to be impossible to sit down and meditate. We think, oh my God, that's going to be so underwhelming. But see, here's the thing. I can speak from personal experience in saying that when I sit down and meditate, when I sit down, when I sit down, my mind, generally speaking, is racing. It's going from thing to thing. And it's sort of like as the day goes on, you build up this momentum, this mental momentum. And you start going from thoughts and feelings and memories and plans and frustrations and analyzing and trying to fix, and all this stuff starts to happen. All this mental noise starts to happen. And see, during the day, this can be productive. It can be what moves us from thing to thing, and gets our work done, gets our tasks for the day done, and this kind of stuff. But it can get to the point, and I'm speaking from personal experience here, it gets to the point where I'm ready to relax. I'm ready to come back into a place of tranquility. But my mind is reluctant to settle back into that tranquility. My mind is just active for no reason. Another word for this is restlessness. My mind is in this state of restlessness, this sort of manic just energy. It's going from thing to thing, it's thinking about thing, and it's going from thing to thing to thing, thinking about random stuff. It's impulsive, it's not calm, and I can feel that it begins to drain my energy. It begins to exhaust my energy. And when I feel that feeling of I've called it before mental nausea. It's just this kind of mental fatigue, really, of the mind is just going and going and going, and it's not for any sort of productive reason. It's just going, That is when there's this sort of inner homing device, this inner compass that tells me to come back into my body. Now, you have your methods of meditation and grounding and stuff, and so do I. And the way that I go about that is, working out and stretching and doing some slow-moving Tai Chi, and then, of course, sitting down and meditating. And what I've come to realize is when I sit down, the mind is going, and that in that moment is when it can feel, oh my God, this is pointless. Why am I doing this? I'm not, this is too much. I'm so bored. Nothing's gonna happen. This isn't productive. All this stuff, right? But then as I continue to just sit, not even necessarily, the idea is focus on the breath. Not even straining myself with focus on the breath. Oh no, I'm not focusing on the breath. Keep focusing on the breath, breathing in, breathing out. Just being. As I allow myself to just be, very slowly, the mind begins to quiet down. And I come naturally into this place of, it's this ever-growing stillness, where I don't even know really how to portray what I'm saying other than saying that the mind starts to slow down. When you sit still and just be, and you're not scrolling on your phone, and you're not out and about doing stuff, and you're not talking to people and thinking about things and planning things and trying to get stuff done, when the activity comes to a minimal, where you are just sitting, and this is kind of why it's recommended in meditation to sit and meditate. It's called zazen, sitting meditation. When you just be, it's like eventually, it takes away the subject of all that restless energy. And the subject of all that restless mental energy is kind of like the wood to the fire, where the fire is all the restlessness, and you thinking about it all and doing it all is like stoking the fire. And then when you tend to just being, you stop stoking the fire. And what this does automatically is it causes that fire to begin to simmer down and relax and stop burning so intensely and with such vigor and flair. It starts to relax. And here is where the magic happens, where when you're sitting and when the mind just 1% begins to relax, there is a natural response to that mental relaxation, where every single degree that the mind quiets down is a degree in which you can more deeply hear and feel and sense your innate wisdom and your innate peace and mental clarity. And this is literally why I meditate, where when I'm feeling restless and mentally fatigued and going from thing to thing to thing, and I just feel like, I don't know, it's this feeling of not being grounded. It's this feeling of not being tuned into what is. I'm just kind of blowing through my life, blowing through my day. When I feel that, I get this, it's kind of like a hunger. Where when you get hungry for food, you go and eat food. When I feel this mental fatigue, I get hungry to sit down and ground myself. And so I sit and I quiet down. And as I quiet down, I come into just this very still-watered place. The mind quiets down. And see, when all that inner chatter begins to cease just a little bit, you begin to hear a different part of yourself. You begin to hear, in my opinion, the wise part of yourself, the true essence of yourself. Now, I can tell you right now that this video right now is the drive and passion to share this video with you guys right now was born out of me just getting up out of a meditation, where I sat down 20, 30 minutes ago because I was feeling that mental restlessness. It's evening time where I'm at right now, and I've gone through my day and I've just been kind of doing stuff. I hung out with a friend, I was playing video games, I did some chores around the house, and I felt that like I'm just kind of doing stuff, and like I was scrolling through my phone, and I was like, all right, I'm ready to bring intention back to what I'm doing. I'm ready to ground. I'm ready to come into a place of peace. And I sat down. And I'm just sitting there and my mind is going all around. And when you meditate frequently, you begin to familiarize yourself with that very pattern of when you initially sit down, your mind is racing and I shouldn't be doing this. This is boring. This is pointless. I don't need to do this. I could do many other things. And you just kind of keep sitting. You just keep sitting, breathing, being, and slowly the mind calms down. And when the mind calms down, you realize that you're not the one thinking like that. It's more like you, who you really are, is waiting for that inner chatter to settle down so that you can then shine forth. And the you that shines forth when you quiet down in meditation is the wise you, the deep you, the relaxed and serene you, the clear thinking you. The you that is filled with passion and creativity and motivation and vigor and mental clarity, man. That's a huge one for me. Because the mental clarity thing, the lack of mental clarity is kind of the thing that triggers the thing within me to want to go and sit down and meditate. Where when I'm restless, that's not mental clarity. I'm just kind of like this Autobot going from thing to thing to thing impulsively. And I think that's a lot of what causes, it's a lot of what causes us to scroll and to not feel satisfied and to feel bored and to feel like nothing is grabbing our attention and nothing is satisfying and nothing is fulfilling. It's that mental restlessness. And the mental restlessness is the opposite of mental clarity. So when I sit down and meditate, or even stretch, or do yoga, or tai chi, or cook a meal mindfully, or clean my house, I slowly come into this place of mental clarity. And that mental clarity is synonymous with a flow state, with mindfulness. And see, what's so beautiful is when that chatter quiets, there's another dimension of yourself. And there's an ocean within you waiting to be the forefront of your mind. But when you're so busy and so lost in this incessant thinking and doing and planning and looking for stimulation and looking for fulfillment and all this stuff, you're not giving yourself the time to be here now, to be present now. And see, the thinking faculty, which is the very thing that gets restless, which is the very thing that will exhaust your soul in time, that thinking faculty has a time and place. That thinking faculty is very good when it comes to analyzing and dealing with multiple things at once and sort of making sense of the actions you're going about your day with. But it's said the mind is a beautiful servant, but a lousy master. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here, where the mind serves you in offering up rational reason in why you're doing what you're doing, or why you should do something or shouldn't do something and this kind of stuff. But when you live in that mind alone, you lose touch with the intuitive, deeper part of yourself. The part of yourself that is one with the universe, that is one with nature. That self that I'm talking about is the feeling of your body right now. If you listen and you hear my voice, it's the thing that's hearing. It's the thing that feels your own body and your feet against the ground or your butt against the seat that you're sitting in. It's the thing that's beating your heart. It's the thing that's growing your hair and circulating your blood. Your being. That is what you lose touch with when you live in a reality of just thinking. And that's how you get to that point of mental exhaustion, which eventually leads to much more detrimental things like depression and nihilism and cynicism and feeling a lack of motivation and feeling no meaning, no reason, feeling no drive, All these things, all these negative ailments are born out of living in the mind, And how did Alan Watts say? He said, when all you think about is thoughts, you lose touch with reality. It's something to that effect. That's not the exact way he said it, but essentially he's saying when you think all the time, all you have to think about is thoughts. But when you come back into the dimension of being, there's this entire universe that was waiting for you to give it the time of day to shine forth. And the way in which you give it time of day, or at least the way I give the universe, and not only the external universe, but the inner universe of me, the way that I give that the time of day to shine forth is to practice methods of mindfulness, of becoming present, of coming into the moment, of cultivating mental clarity. And it's so beautiful, man. Like when you meditate, it's like ripples on a body of water. All these ripples and all this mental thinking and inner chatter and inner narrative and all this stuff and all these emotions and all this stuff. And it's like you're just sitting there patting all the water. But then when you sit down and you relax and you just be, slowly that water begins to calm. The surface begins to get clear. The ripples go away. It gets smooth and even and calm and tranquil again. And see, when water is turbulent, you can't see into it. When your mind is turbulent, you don't have access to the deeper part of yourself. But then when you sit down and you let that mind clear a little bit, you can see to the depths of yourself. You can see so much deeper into yourself when you come into a place of tranquility. You know? When water is washing all around, you can't see into yourself. You sort of are a product of that mental turbulence. And it's also said that the way that you clear muddied water is not by going in and trying to clear it and pat down the mud with your hands. That only makes it muddier. The way you clear muddied water is by leaving it alone. So if you feel inspiration to cultivate mindfulness because of watching this video right now, I want to tell you, you're not going to go and sit down and try to cultivate mindfulness. Because that very trying to calm down, trying to cultivate mindfulness is the same thing that got you into the place of mental restlessness in the first place. Meditation is a cessation of activity. You're not doing anything. The idea in meditation is to stop doing, to let things be. In Taoism, it's called wu wei. Inaction, or it can also be translated as non-doing. You just be. You already are being. And meditation is about tuning back into that effortless, natural, spontaneous dimension of yourself, which a lot of us, myself included, every single day, lose touch of because of the turbulent nature of the mind. So when you meditate, or when you practice Tai Chi, or when you exercise, or whatever method feels intuitive and is calling to you to come into a place of mindfulness, I want you to know that it's not about doing something. It's not about, I'm going to quiet my mind, breathing in, breathing out, It's not about that. Thinking and planning and remembering and scrolling and going out and doing, that's when you can try to keep, I'm going to do this and then do that and I'm not going to do that. That's when the mental stuff, you can have at it, have fun, have at it as much as you want. But when it comes to meditation, when it comes to tuning into the stillness, it's about not doing. It's about allowing, letting things be just as they are, not judging the mind for being loud, not wanting the mind's contents to change, not trying to make things differently. Just understanding that it's by coming into peace and relaxation and coming into a place of just being that allows the mind to naturally, on its own accord, stop with all the mental chatter. When we live in this dimension of thinking, the mind is like trying to satiate this sense of lack of contentment, We all run around trying to be happy all the time, We're trying to get the pleasure and push away the pain, and this it's like a hunger. It's like a never-ending hunger of trying to be happy. And so the mind is constantly bringing stuff up and pushing stuff down in an attempt to try to come into a place of contentment, to bring the ego, which is sort of the self within the mind, the locus of the mind, bring that ego into a place of contentment. So the more you try to get peaceful or try to get the mind to quiet down or any of that stuff, that effort, the more you muddy up the water. It's the equivalent of trying to clear muddied water by pushing the mud down and trying to settle all the dust, and it's going, you're working against the flow of things. The idea is to let it be. So I'm telling you, you sit down and you let things be. And see, the mind is a tricker here. The mind is it's sneaky. I'm gonna just let things be. Okay, I'm letting things be. So then 30 seconds later, well, why am I not more calm yet? It's been 30 seconds. I'm letting things be. Northwood Shaman said if I let things be, my mind will calm down, That's not letting things be. Letting things be is just, I can't put it any clearer other than saying, just letting things be. And that's why it's taught and recommended to just focus on the breath. If you have the ability to be in a quiet space, listen to that all-pervading silence. Feel your body being held against the ground and sitting. Just be. And out of that being is born a whole different, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like who you really are is able to shine when you quiet down. But we're so reluctant to quiet down because, first of all, we don't know the fruits that it will reap. We don't know that our potential and our passion and our motivation and our happiness is inside of that quieting down. But also, we don't know how to quiet down, We don't know how to get into a place of being quiet. You tell the mind to go and quiet down and just be, it's going to go sit down and try to just be. Even though it's very easy to miss. You're already being. You don't have to try to be. You're already being. The idea is to bring mindfulness to what is. The peace that you're looking for is inside of the stillness of this moment right now. It's just waiting for you to allow it to manifest itself. It's sort of suppressed by the mental chatter, the mental activity. And see, it's such a tricker. We think the mental activity it has our best interest in mind. We think that by doing and trying and thinking and planning and remembering, we're going to eventually get that happiness and that gratification and pleasure. But see, that exhausts you. It becomes this goose chase, Where, like I worded it a moment ago, it feels like you're blowing through your life. That's literally how it feels to me. It feels like I'm just blowing through my day. I can't wait to get home from work so that I can rush to bed to wake up to go to work, I can't wait for this to be done so that I can get to the thing that when I'm there, I'm going to be waiting for the next thing. It's a carrot in front of the head, man. It's this, and then I'll be. And then when I have that, then that's the mind. That's not where peace is. You will live your whole life chasing that promise. It's out in front of you. The way Alan Watts describes it is there's this sort of like a here, kitty, 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 kitty. That's how it is. It's this promise. It's this hope. Once I get home from work tonight, then I'll be. And then notice how when you get home from work, it's like, once I once it's the weekend, then, you know? And then once I can retire, then, you know what I'm saying? It's this out in front of you. You're always chasing it. But see, the peace that you crave, the relaxation that you crave, the potential of your mind, the creativity that you have to offer this world, your passion. If you don't think you have a passion, it's waiting within you to be discovered. It's waiting for you to discover it, man. It's there. It's there, and it's waiting in the stillness of this moment. I've experienced this directly, time and time and time again. And I still am like, why don't I meditate more? You know? It's like, it's because I get caught up in that mental chatter that's like, well, when I do this and that and this and that, then I'll be happy, and that'll really make me happy. But every single time I sit down and meditate and I come back into that place, that ocean of stillness within me, I realize that that is where the peace is. And that ocean of stillness is here in this moment. It's not a promise of peace that's out ahead of me in the future. It's here now. And see, an hour ago, I was in a place of mental fatigue. I was in a place of inner chatter and restless mental activity, mental momentum, as I described it. But now, here I am, feeling calm, feeling grounded, feeling satisfied, feeling beautiful mental clarity and flow, all because there's that thing within me that triggered saying, hey, you're kind of blowing through your life, you're kind of in that manic, restless, inner chatter state, and it's why you're feeling so mentally fatigued. Maybe it's time to exercise and do some stretching and yoga and then sit down for 10 or 15 minutes quietly, not doing anything. And here we are. And it's a teaching to me every single time that what I'm looking for is within me. It's not out here. It's not out here. I'm not going to find it out here. It's within me. And when I tune into that inner dimension, stuff starts to happen. My life begins to be orchestrated by a higher power, by a higher course, a course that's been set by a higher, more wise, and more intuitive way of being. But when I get lost in that mind, I begin to snub out that higher calling. I begin to lose touch with it. I begin to drop into a sort of lower vibrational frequency, if you will, where my actions and my choices and the way I spend my time is just, it's not as fulfilling, it's not as creative, it's not as loving, it's not as clear, it's not as wise. And then I come back into that high vibrational place through meditating or just through the spontaneous result of just allowing myself to be. And see, that's another thing, is even if you're at work and you don't have time to sit down and meditate, just start to allow, focus on what you're doing, be in the moment. Whatever it is that you're doing, wherever you are, there you are. And if you're there, you have the ability to come into this space that I'm talking about. It's just the way in which you enter that space is going to vary depending on the situations that you're in. But yeah, if you're at work, and you can't sit down and meditate, start by just allowing. Allow yourself to feel how you're feeling. Allow yourself to be at work. Allow yourself to allow the thoughts to think themselves. You don't have to think anymore. You can just let the thoughts think, bro. Just be. And slowly you will come into this higher vibrational state where you're not trying to be, you're not trying to calm down. The mind and the mental chatter has naturally ceased and sort of quieted, and it's just kind of like these little things off in the distance, and you're in this place of intense presence and clarity and flow. It's incredible. It's incredible, and it's what my soul craves. And in my opinion, it's what spiritual practice is cultivating presence. Because out of pure presence with this moment right now comes what we're all looking for, which is happiness, peace, relaxation, fulfillment. And out of that inner state of joy comes the potential of what you truly have to offer to this world. Out of presence comes your highest self. And by living in the mind, you're sort of blocking that higher self from channeling through you. So, if you feel reluctant to meditate because you think it'll be boring, or you think you don't have time to meditate, or you think you can't meditate because you can't stop talking, I want you to know it's not you can't stop thinking. It's not about not thinking. And you do have time to meditate. If you have time to scroll on your phone for 5 minutes, try meditating during that time instead. You can meditate. You can be here now. And when you start to catch wind of what I'm talking about, this thing, it's this state, you sort of click into this mode of awareness. And when you stay in that for 5 minutes, you will feel a natural alleviation of that mental restlessness, that anxiety, that depression, that anger, that feeling of lack of contentment and lack of direction and lack of motivation and all those negative things that are born out of low vibrational states. When you meditate, when you come into the moment and rest there for a moment and allow the water of your mind and the ripples of your mind to settle, you're going to see into a dimension of yourself that you may have never seen before. And you will begin to see that it's in that state of presence that your highest potential is able to shine forth. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. And if you did, leave your boy a like, consider subscribing. I make content like this every week, and it means the world to me if you did. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. If you're feeling stressed, lost, anxious, restless, ungrounded, or anything in between, I highly recommend you go and check out my free 45-minute guided meditation that's available here on YouTube. This meditation is aimed towards tuning you back into your natural, authentic self. Something that is all too easy to lose sight of in this racy culture that we live in these days. Listening to this meditation will point you back towards your fundamental self. It will bring you back to the basics. It will bring you back to the effortless, natural self that you are, which is, as I said, so easy to lose sight of. And I can promise you that listening to this meditation will put you in a place of tranquility and will tune you back into the innate wisdom of your being. So again, if you're feeling stressed, restless, ungrounded, lost, or anything of that nature, go and check out this guided meditation, and I can assure you that it will at least tune you back in to your immediate surroundings and the tranquility and peace that is present in this moment. I will link this meditation right here in the video, and I really hope this helps, and I hope to see you there.